Welcome to the step 3 of the spouse or partner and dependent sponsorship program. In this step, I'm going to show you guys how to apply and also fill out all the application forms. In the previous steps, step 1 and step 2, we talked about the eligibility criteria and also the document checklist and the requirements in step 2. And in this step, it's all about how to apply, fill out the application forms, and submit your application. Let's quickly dive in. So first of all, on your web browser, you are going to type in cic.gc.ca, then you choose English or French. Once you do that, you can either go down and choose Immigrate, or you go to the menu under Immigrate and Citizenship, you click on Immigration and Citizenship, then you go down and you choose Immigrate. Once you do that, you go to Family Sponsorship, click on that, and then you choose Sponsor your spouse, partner, or dependent children. Click on that, and then you go to How to apply. Once you do that, it shows you down here that to apply to sponsor your spouse, partner, or child, there are 2 applications. 1, you must apply to become a sponsor. 2, your spouse, partner, or child must apply for permanent residency or permanent residence. So I will show you guys once we start filling out all the application forms, what each one represents. Right? So the next thing we do once we get to this point is we straight up go to step 1, which is get the application package. So you click on this one right here, the application package. Once you click on that, then we are going to answer a few questions just to get our checklist, forms, and then the instruction on how we're going to fill out this form. So who are you sponsoring? So for this demo, we are going to choose my spouse and dependent children if that applies. So below in the drop-down menu are also the other options that you can choose. Your common law partner, your conjugal partner, and your dependent child. So for this demo, we're choosing my spouse and dependent children if this applies. Once you do that, it's going to ask you, what country does the person being sponsored reside in? So for this demo, we are going to use Ghana. So we choose Ghana. You can choose your country. If the person is already in Canada, then you can choose Canada because they are in Canada. Do you need to submit documents issued by another country? If that applies to you, then you are going to indicate here that you need to pick a different country. Let's say your spouse or your dependent children or your conjugal partner, they were born in a different country, and you're going to need the birth certificate for that information. Then you're going to choose that option. So if not, you're going to click Get Checklist and Forms. Once you do that, as you can see here, it says Application Guide. This is what we are looking at right here. Application Guide, it says Document Checklist for the spouse, including dependent children of spouse. So we are going to need the document checklist. So we are going to download this document. And then it says forms for the sponsor to fill out. Application to sponsor. Remember at the beginning I said it's going to be 2 application process. One is to apply to be a sponsor, and then the second one is actually the application process for the citizen, for the permanent residency rather. So you are going to choose, you're going to download the application to sponsor, sponsorship agreement and undertaking, sponsorship evaluation and relationship questionnaire, and then use of a representative if you are going to use a representative. And then for the person being sponsored, which is the principal applicant, so you are going to download the generic application form for Canada, additional dependents declaration, additional family information, Schedule A background and declaration, and also the use of a representative. At some point in the application or during the checklist process, as I mentioned in the step 2, about the checklist and requirements, these are the additional informations for Ghana. So for you applying, depending on where you're applying from, if you're applying from any part of the world, your own additional form for the person that you are trying to sponsor, it's going to be different, right? So it could also be similar, but this one says supplemental or supplementary information for travels and details of military service, birth certificate. It could be similar or there could be little changes, right? So go ahead and download all these forms, and then we are going to start filling them out one after the other. So to download this, all you have to do is you click on it. You can open in a different link, or you can just click on download. It opens up on your web browser, and then on this button you are going to click and it downloads in you can be able to download it to your computer. So you can do that for all the application forms that we are going to be needing, and then we'll start filling them out. So as you can see on my screen right now, we are going to start with the application to sponsor, the sponsorship agreement and undertaking, IMM 1344. So before you start, it says who must fill out this application form. This form must be filled out and signed by the sponsor, the principal applicant, which is also, or who rather is also the person being sponsored. And then under part A, it says question 3, you can't have a co-signer if you are sponsoring your spouse, common law partner, or conjugal partner. So down here, when you have done filling out the application, you as the sponsor, you're going to sign here. Because you are sponsoring your spouse or your common law partner or conjugal partner, they are going to sign under here. They won't need to sign on this part if they are a co-signer, just like it says here. Important to remember that. So for part 1, application to sponsor and undertaking. Number 1, if you're found ineligible to sponsor, indicate whether you want your application to be withdrawn. It says withdraw your sponsorship application or proceed with the application for permanent residence. Processing fee will be returned. So this is going to be up to you. So for this demo, I just checked off to withdraw if I am found ineligible to apply or to sponsor. Number 2, you choose the language preference you want. So number 3, it says, is there a co-signer on this application? Remember, if it's a yes, tick yes, and specifically this will be for someone trying to sponsor their dependent child, and then their co-signer would now have to be their spouse. But if you're trying to sponsor your spouse, you are going to indicate no. So number 4, person you are sponsoring, which is like the principal applicant. So for this demo, I chose the name, the given names, and the date of birth. You are going to do the same thing. So number 6 is going to ask you, the principal applicant is your, then in the drop-down menu, you are going to choose the option you want. So it can be adoptive parent, guardian, agent, common law partner living outside, grandparent, orphan sibling, other relatives, spouse living in Canada, or spouse living outside Canada. So if you are trying to apply for your spouse living in Canada, then you are going to indicate, you're going to choose this. But if it's your spouse living outside Canada, you are going to choose this one, just like I indicated here. So once you do that, then the next option is, if you are in a conjugal relationship, provide the date on which you entered in that relationship. So if you chose that option, you are going to put the date here. Sponsor personal details. So here you are going to provide your own details as the sponsor. Indicate if you've used any other name. They provide your sex, your date of birth, where you were born, and the country. Then your status in Canada, it can be a permanent resident. And then you can also, here it says, if you're a permanent resident, or a naturalized Canadian citizen, provide the following information. Date on which you obtained this status. So you put that date, and then if you are a permanent resident, you are going to have a UCI. Then full name at the time you became a permanent resident, same as your current full name, yes, then you leave the space. So you are going to indicate your current marital status for number 8, and then provide the date when you got married. Then again, you provide the name of your current spouse, and then have you previously been married in a common law relationship? If yes, you choose yes, and then put the date, the type of relationship, when and to. If no, choose no. And then down here it says sponsor contact information. So down here you can see the demo I used. You are going to provide your contact information as the sponsor, provide apartment number, street number, the name, and all those good information. So residential address, same as mailing address. Yes, once you do that, you're going to provide the phone number that they're going to reach you with. You provide your email address, and then for sponsor residence declaration, are you a Canadian citizen living exclusively outside Canada? If it's a yes for you, you are going to provide, say yes. If it's a no, say no. I did mention in the eligibility criteria video, which is the step 1, and also I talked about it a little bit in the step 2. If you are living outside of Canada as a Canadian citizen, then you have to show proof that you're going to be in Canada when those you intend to sponsor are permanent residents. Then sponsor eligibility assessment, then you are going to answer all these questions here for eligibility assessment. It's going to ask you your age, are you a Canadian resident, Canadian citizen, or permanent resident? So answer these questions, or rather read them and pick the right answer for yourself. Once you answer those questions from 1, you can see the demo I provided and answer those questions for yourself, 1 to 18. Once you finish that, then we are going to go down to undertaking by sponsor and co-signer if applicable. So once you get to this point, scroll all the way down to where you are going to provide your name and sign. So here you are going to put your signature as the sponsor, and then if you have a co-signer, they are going to provide their signature as well. And this is if you are not sponsoring your spouse, common law partner, or your conjugal partner. But if you are sponsoring your spouse, common law, and conjugal partner, you do not need a co-signer. They will just put their signature as a signature of person being sponsored here. Once you do that, put the date that you filled out your information, validate this form, validate it, print it out, and sign. Validate, print out, and sign. Sign as a sponsor and get your spouse to sign as well. And that is the first form, which is application to sponsor, sponsorship agreement, and undertaking. Now we are going to go to the next form, which is relationship information and sponsorship evaluation. So there is another form called the sponsorship evaluation. So this form here, it says who needs to fill out this form. This form, the sponsor fills out this form is if sponsoring only a dependent child who has no dependent children of their own. If this applies to you, then you have to download this form and fill out the sponsorship evaluation for this particular one. And also, if you you can also fill out this one. It says for the financial evaluation form, this one, it says complete this form if you're sponsoring a dependent child who has a dependent child of their own. So for the relationship information and sponsorship evaluation, so here you are going to provide your personal information. It says personal information about sponsor. So provide your name, given names, date of birth, and client ID. And personal information about spouse or partner being sponsored. You are going to provide that name as well. Here, if they are in Canada, they might have a client ID because maybe they came as a visitor, study, or work permit. But if they are outside of Canada, then they will not have a client ID. So part A, it says sponsorship evaluation and information about the sponsor to be filled out by the sponsor. So this is sponsor's employment history, starting with your current employer. If applicable, give details of all employers you've worked for over the past 5 years. So here you are going to, I just use this demo as over the past 5 years, I used this demo for 2016 February to 2021 September, right? And then I provided this information. It says give name, complete address, and telephone number for each employer. So this demo here, I put it out from the application guide. So structure your own employment history like this, and then you're going to indicate your occupation or position, and then monthly gross salary income. Once you do that, then it says, have you sponsored in the past? Have you sponsored in the past, or are you currently sponsoring any other family, any other members of your family in a different application? If yes, put yes and give details in the table below. If no, just indicate no and go to question 3. So if this applies to you, provide that detail here. And if it doesn't apply to you, go to question 3. Other financial dependent people. Give details of any other person who is financially dependent on you, whether they are living with you or not, and who is not already listed in the tables above. So here, if you have other family dependents, so let's say your spouse is dependent on you, then you are going to provide their name here and their date of birth. Let's say your dad, your mom, you have siblings that depend on you, you are going to provide that information here because it says whether they are living with you or not. Then level of education for number 4. Here it says, what is the highest level of education you have completed? So here you are going to indicate if it's elementary, college, and then the number of years completed. Then you indicate that number as well. For number 5, address history, list all addresses where you have lived in the past 5 years. Do not use PO box addresses. So here you can provide your address from to when you've been living there, the street and number, city and or town, province, postal code, and the country. Number 6, residence in Canada. Do you live in Canada right now? If yes, go to number 7. If no, it's going to ask you, when did you last live in Canada? When do you plan to return to Canada to resume residence? Where do you plan to live when you return to Canada? Then this is where you are going to provide all those information. So you're going to answer them here based on those questions, right? Then for number 7, previous relationships. Have you ever been married or in a common law relationship with another person? If yes, give details below. If no, tick no and keep moving. Consent to disclose. If there is any investigation into marriage fraud about you, do you consent to Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada and the Canada Border Services Agency releasing the result to your spouse or partner? You are going to indicate yes or no. Then declaration of sponsor. So you are going to put the date you filled out the application form, print out, and then sign. Part B, information about the principal applicant to be filled out by the principal applicant. So this area is going to be for your spouse, your partner, conjugal partner, or your dependent child, whoever you're trying to sponsor, common law partner. They are going to fill out this information here. It says, before this relationship, was your sponsor related to you in any way? So yes or no. If yes, give details below. Do you have any relatives, including aunts, uncle, cousins living in Canada? If yes, provide all the details below as well. Have you ever been married or in a common law relationship with another person? If yes, provide the details below. If no, keep going. Consent of disclosure as well. If there is any investigation, do you give consent for them to release it to your spouse or partner? You indicate yes or no. And then again, the date, and then principal applicant is going to sign. Then part C is information about relationship to be filled out by the sponsor and the primary applicant. So when was the first time you met in person? So because this is like personal information for people, I didn't really want to like fill out some things here because people are going to answer this question how it fits them. So you are going to provide the date, where, describe the circumstances, who introduced who, did you have any contact before you met in person? Are you living together now? If no, explain why not. If you are not living together, have you visited each other during your relationship? Yes or no, provide details. If yes, give details. So all those personal information is going to go in this box all the way down. So you are going to read this one, you, the sponsor, and the principal applicant, who is the person being sponsored, together or individually. You guys will figure this, the answers to these questions, and fill out all these areas. These are personal questions, so I'm not going to waste time in this area. So once you fill out all those questions, down here it says declaration of sponsor. Then you are going to put your signature here, declaration of applicant. The principal applicant is going to provide the signature here as well. So if you guys are using an interpreter, let's say your first language isn't English language, and you're using an interpreter, so they are going to fill out their information as well here. Once you finish that, you guys are going to print out this form, like I said, and save this as well. And this is all about relationship information and sponsorship evaluation. So the next one is the use of a representative. So if you guys are using a representative to help you fill out this form, this is the form that you guys are going to give the representative to fill out, and then you include in your application, right? So the next form that I have here, so for the generic application form, it says who must fill out this application. This form must be completed by you, the principal applicant, right? And also, I think there is an information here that I wanted to touch on. Yes, application details. For question 1, it says from the list, select the program under which you are applying. Question 2, it says from the list, select the category under which you are applying. If you choose family in question 1, select one of the following. So let's quickly jump right in. And so for the generic application form, here you are going to choose program under which you are applying, which is family, category under which you are applying. Then you're going to choose which one applies to you in the drop-down menu. Then for number 3, how many family members, including you, are in this application? So if it's you, your spouse, and dependent children, then you put the number 2, 3, depending on how many people are in the application. Language preference, interview, where you intend to live in Canada. You choose all those information. You can use the demo here that I provided. Personal details, you provide that information as well. And then for number 3, The UCI number, because this is for the sponsor or the person being sponsored filling out this information. So if you are applying from outside Canada, you wouldn't have a UCI number. If you're applying from Canada or within Canada, then provide your UCI here. Provide your sex, your weight, or rather your height, your eye color, date when you were born, place where you were born, your country, your citizenship. If you have 2 citizenships, you can choose that. I put here Nigeria, Ghana. Current country of residence, you choose that as well. And then previous countries of residence. During the past 5 years, have you lived in any country other than your country of residence? Yes. Provide, if you choose yes, provide the details below. If no, then tick no and keep going. So for number 13, your current marital status, then the date, and then if you've been married or in a common law relationship, then you put that information here. Provide the name of your current spouse or common law partner. So if you are a spouse filling out this information, then this place would be for your sponsor, who is your spouse, right? And then have you previously been married or in a common law relationship? Yes or no? Contact information, you are going to provide your contact information, provide how they're going to reach you, telephone number, alternate telephone number. So for this alternate telephone number, I put this number here. Let's say you're a spouse, you're the person being sponsored. It would be a good idea to put an alternate telephone number of your spouse. If you're outside of Canada, put an alternate telephone number of your spouse in Canada, and then put an email that both of you share together, right? So that if you receive an email, both of you can be able to access it and get to the information in time. Provide your passport information, details, your passport number, country of issue, expiring date, and issue date. If you have a national identity document, provide that yes. If no, tick no, keep going. Then you are going to provide your education and occupation details here. You can use the demo I provided here as a guide. Provide your number of years in total, and then language details. So in the drop-down menu, there are so many options here. You can choose which one fits you, and then provide if you're able to communicate in English or French. Then here, if you are coming with a dependent, then you can add dependents here. If it's just you as the spouse, the person being sponsored, and you don't have any dependents, then you do not need to add any information there. But if you have a dependent, all you need to do is click on this, add dependent, and then down here, you can provide their information just the same similar way you provided your information. You can be able to fill out their information. And if you have more than one dependent, you can add extra. I believe in this place, you cannot add more than 4 or 5 dependents here. That is why they have the additional dependents form or declaration form. So if you have a dependent and you've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can no longer add extra dependents here, then you are going to make use of this additional dependent / declaration form. That's the essence of this, right? Additional dependents and declaration form, right? But if you do not have any dependents, all you have to do is what? You remove this. To remove it, you just click on this, remove dependent. Yeah, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to remove this? Say, okay. Then you remove that and go all the way down, provide your consent. Then you are going to put the date when you fill out this application, provide the date, validate it, print it out, and sign right here. And this is going to be the declaration of applicant. And that is this, how to fill out this generic application form for Canada. I've already talked about this one. So if you have more than 5 dependents and it can't fit in the generic application, then you are going to add the extra dependents / declaration form and provide that information here. That is the only essence of this. And then on to the next one, which is the additional family information. So for the additional family information, here it says the principal applicant, their spouse or common law partner, if applicable, and all dependent children 18 years of age or older must complete their own copy of this form. Remember that. The principal applicant, their spouse or common law partner, if applicable, and all dependent children 18 years of age or older must complete their own copy of this form. Complete all names in English and in your native language, and then if additional space is required, attach a separate sheet. So for this one, I just provided a demo how to fill out this one. So I just put the applicant's name or the principal applicant, which is the spouse, the date of birth, present address, email, country of or territory of birth, and then this is married physically. Here it's going to ask you, choose what works for you. Is it like common law, divorce, legally separated, married, physically present, or married, not physically present? Then you provide all that information. Provide the information for your spouse and then the date and everything. So down here is going to be for the children, for the section B. Use the same demo like I did. If you guys have kids, do the same here. And then if you have brothers and sisters, and you are going to indicate that as well. So section D, certification. You certify that the information contained in this application is complete, date, and print, and put your signature here. And that is how you are going to add the additional family information like I showed in here. Then after that, then we are here to the last application, which is the background and declaration form. So for the background and declaration form, here all you have to do is, I am going to increase this a little bit. Let's go to 140. So here it says the principal applicant, his or her spouse or common law partner, if applicable, and all dependent children age 18 years or older listed in the application for permanent residence must complete their own copy of this form. Always read this. They are going to complete their own copy of this form. The principal applicant, his or her spouse or common law partner, if applicable. So here, again, principal applicant, if you have the UCI number, if you're within Canada, you can put this information here. Application number, if you have, provide it. If not, then leave it as not applicable for now, or leave it as a space. You can either put not applicable or just leave it empty. And then here, personal details. You provide your name and your last name, your date of birth, then personal details of your parents. So here, this one, because again, this is like personal information, I decided to like just explain it without really filling it out, because the information is going to be different for everyone. So personal details of your parents, relationship. So here you're going to indicate your dad, or unknown, family name, their given name, city, town of birth, country of birth, same thing, relationship with your mom and things like that. So for number 4, it says, have you or if you are the principal applicant, any of your family member listed in your application for permanent residency in Canada ever, then you read this. If it's no for you, then it's good. If it's yes, then you have to provide. It says if your answer to any of the question is yes, provide details below. But if it's a no, then you do not need that. Education history, this is for the principal applicant. So for this demo, I just put elementary 6, secondary 6, university 4, but yours is going to be different. So you are going to provide, it says, give full details of all secondary and post-secondary education, including university, college, and apprenticeship training. Here, you are going to provide that information, your field of study, name of school institution. You can use the demo again that I provided here to provide your education history here. Once you do that, you do the same for your personal history. You can use the demo that I have right here as well, as you can see. Provide your personal history. It says, provide the details of your personal history since the age of 18 or the past 10 years. So for this one, it says whichever is the most recent. So as you can see, I put 2016 February ongoing, right? Then all the way down here, making it 10 years. So you are going to use this demo to put your own personal information there. Then if you are part of any membership or association with any organizations, yes or no, indicate that. Government positions, yes or no. Military and or military service, yes or no. Address, provide all of the addresses where you have lived in the past 10 years or since your 18th birthday, whichever is most recent. Do not exclude any period of time during the time frame. So for this one, you are going to provide the details. You can also use the demo here that I provided. And if you have any extra information, as you can see right here, it says add more rows. So once you click on that, you can add more information here. You can also do the same thing for this one when you're providing your personal history. You can add more rows if you have more information to give. And after that, you are going to, for this one, it says you are going to put your name and then put the date and validate and provide your signature as well. Now that we've completed all the required forms, what do we do next? In the step 2 of this application process, I kind of as an explained all the requirements or the checklist documents and the requirements, and that is the next thing you can do. So which is this one here. You are going to, if you know exactly, if you have this, then all you have to do is you take out your checklist and then you print out the checklist and check off all these documents that we've completed here based on the way they are arranged here, starting with your document checklist, your application to sponsorship agreement and undertaking, your application fees, just the way it is arranged here. If you do not know how to do this, you can check in the description area of this video where you will see the step 2 of this process where I provided this information. Is going to help you on how to use the checklist to arrange your documents very well. So let's say we've done all of that. We filled out all the application. We've arranged everything. Now we are going to pay our fees and then use the receipt to add to our document checklist in order to submit our application. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now as well. So in order to pay your fees, on the same page where we started, where it says how to apply, you can see down here it says you have to pay your fees online. You are going to click on that, the same process. Remember when we started, we said get your application package, but to pay your fees now, you are going to click on this link. You have to pay your fees online. Once you click on that link, it's going to open and it looks like this. What you do is you're going to answer these questions. It's going to ask you, where are you paying from? So if you're paying from inside of Canada, you're going to choose Canada. If you're paying from outside of Canada, you choose your country. So for this demo, I will stick to what we've been using. So I was using Ghana. So we are going to choose Ghana. What type of application are you submitting? So this is family sponsorship. You choose that. What are you paying for? It's going to be spouse, partner, or child. Then it's going to ask you to get payment instructions. So you click on that. And then once you click on that, it's going to show you a breakdown of what each payment is all about. Once you read all of this good information, then you go all the way down where it says pay my fees online. You click on that and then scroll again all the way down. It's going to give you two options. Option 1 will help you choose your fees. Option 2, choose your fees from a list. So we're going to do this. Again, we are going to choose that we want to pay for permanent residency. And it's going to ask you, are you paying the right of permanent residency fee for an application you've already submitted? If you apply for this sponsorship program and you didn't pay your right of a permanent residency fee and you want to come back, this is how you can come back and pay it. But if you're just trying to pay it for the first time, then you are going to say no and then see list of fees. You click on that online payment and then you are going to choose spouse, partner, or children. Choose that. Here you are going to indicate what you're paying for. Again, that was that breakdown. So here you're going to indicate 1, which is sponsor your spouse or partner, sponsorship fee. And then if you do not want to include your right of permanent residency fee, like I said, you are going to choose this one instead and remove this, right? But you just pay $550. But if you want to pay your right of permanent residency fee at once, you choose the first one instead. Then if you have a dependent child that is coming along with you, then you are going to include your dependent. But if you are just sponsoring a dependent child, then you are not sponsoring your spouse. You are going to choose this one right here. I hope that makes sense. But because this is what we're applying for, this and maybe a dependent child, if no, remove it. If you have one, you put that. If 2 people, because it says per child, right? We do that. So we're going to use 1 for an example. Then biometrics fee. If you remember the last time you've done biometrics, mostly it's if you've done one in the last 10 years, then you do not need to provide a biometrics. But if you're trying to do, as in if it's like your first time, then this is going to come in handy. So here you are going to provide, it says 2 or more people for 1 person. So here, because you're doing 1 for yourself and your dependent child, you're going to choose this one and then submit. Then once you do that, it's going to ask you to clarify that you're not a robot, and it tells you how much information you're going to, how much you're paying. Okay, let me verify this first. Select all images with both. So once you verify that, it tells you total of 1,370 then, and then here you do what? Read and agree, proceed to checkout. Once you pay, proceed your process your transaction, then you are going to use the receipt and include in your application. Again, you saw that in the checklist that I showed you guys. And then once you do that, the next thing you are going to do is submit your application package. Here it says, submit your application by mail. Pick the correct mailing address. So here it says, application for spouses, common law partners or conjugal partners outside Canada and all dependent child sponsorships. This is where you're going to send it. Or application for spouses or common law partners currently living in Canada applying under the spouse or common law partner in Canada class. Then this is where you are going to send your application, right? So that is exactly how to apply for the spouse, partner, and dependent child sponsorship program. If you have any questions, leave it in the description area below. This is a long video. Maybe I missed a couple things. Leave any question in the description area below, and I will definitely attend to it. Thank you guys for watching, and bye for now.